When President Donald Trump officially launched the United States Space Force 3 years ago, it got a lot of laughs.
You will witness the birth of the Space Force.
But the weaponization of space is deadly serious stuff. From hypersonic missiles to secretive robotic spacecrafts to knocking out rival satellites, the race is on to secure outer space. Welcome to Technality. I'm Alex Melky, and today we're exploring 3 areas that world powers are working on to dominate the cosmos. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode of Technality. Almost everything you do in the modern world depends on satellites. From checking the weather to ordering food to navigating a new city, it all relies on information beamed back to Earth from a network of satellites. They're also the backbone of the US military's global reach. Missiles, drones, and espionage all rely on those eyes in the sky too. That means being able to sabotage or knock out enemy satellites while protecting their own is a top priority for several nations including America, Russia, and China. The US declared it would stop the testing of anti-satellite missiles in 2022.
These tests are dangerous, and we will not conduct them.
Because blowing them up in space just adds more dangerous bits of debris into orbit that could jeopardize its own satellites. So far, no other country has pledged to follow suit, but they are actively working on other tools, like giant lasers, radio frequency jammers, and cyber attacks to disable satellites. Russia has what's known as kamikaze satellites to ram into ones they want to take out. And China even has a kidnapper satellite that can get close to rival satellites and grab them with a grappling arm. One thing's for sure, future wars on Earth will be executed via satellite, and the battle is already on to see what nation can keep the upper hand. When it comes to countering threats against its network of satellites, the US Space Force has more than a few tricks up its sleeve, including the very secretive intelligence-gathering spacecraft, the X-37B. We don't know much about the world's first space drone. Almost everything about what the X-37B does is classified information. But what we do know is that it can stay in orbit for years at a time and can return to Earth and be used again. Also known as the Orbital Test Vehicle, it looks a lot like a miniature version of NASA's Space Shuttle. It hitches a ride on a rocket to get to space and runs on solar power. It has a payload bed roughly the size of a minivan, but what goes in that payload bed is pretty much anyone's guess. The X-37B could potentially be used to deploy smaller spy satellites, or it could one day be used to attack or damage enemy assets in space. Or maybe it could eventually become a space fighter jet. The military denies that's the plan, but if you're sitting in Beijing or Moscow, you might not exactly be taking that at face value. One way or another, the X-37B is a formidable addition to America's arsenal in space. There is already a weapon that goes all the way up to space before slamming back down into Earth with devastating power and speed. A weapon that has America racing to keep up with Russia and China, the Hypersonic Missile. The Hypersonic Missile has 2 big advantages over conventional missiles used today: speed and maneuverability. Hypersonic means anything moving faster than 5 times the speed of sound. And they can also change course quickly thanks to steering fins on the hypersonic glide vehicle that guides it to its intended target. They can carry nuclear warheads that can be fired from land, sea, or air. They can even circle the globe in low orbit space, which means they could also potentially be used against satellites. Russia and China have varying forms of operational hypersonic missiles today. The US is ramping up its testing and development to catch up. But as the race for dominance in space heats up, there's little doubt we'll be hearing more about hypersonic technology in the near future. From competing satellites to drone spaceships to missiles that can travel in space, the battlefield of tomorrow will almost certainly include the extraterrestrial. Here's hoping cooler heads can put all that technology to more peaceful purposes. What do you think the future of space has in store for humanity? Drop a comment below, and I'll see you in the future.